Watch it to me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Colby Cast, where we dive into movies,
21 gigawatts!
TV,
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
and everything in between.
Well, I don't know how you get a podcast, but you should look into it.
I'm Colby, and I'm joined by my two awesome sons, Caleb
I don't know how to tie my shoes.
and Luke.
I never shut up.
Together, we're your friendly neighborhood pop culture nerds, here to share our thoughts on Star Wars, Marvel, the latest entertainment news, and maybe even some sports.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
So grab a piece of cake
Cake! Everybody loves cakes.
and find a comfy spot on the couch, because this is your place for community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling.
What an incredible smell you've discovered.
Inquiring minds want to know. I know where you stand on this, Caleb, but I don't know where you stand on this, Luke. The new Bruno Mars Rosé single. I don't know if it's called APT or APT. Either way, have you heard it, and what is your opinion of it?
I have heard it. I don't remember it. K-pop.
But it's got Bruno Mars.
The K-pop.
K-pop. Oh, you know what? I wasn't going to talk about this, but you mentioned K-pop, and I had to bring up APT because it's such a super catchy song.
Too catchy.
So catchy. I'm going to
Too-
learn how to dance the dance. I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn how to dance the dance.
Okay, I
But my
believe you.
question is, have you guys logged on to your YouTube Music lately and seen your 2024 year in review?
I have.
Have you done it? Have you looked at it?
Yes.
Caleb, have you done this?
I don't know what music is.
Oh, that's okay, because I don't want to talk about it. I just want to share with you. I would like to talk about it. We can talk about it in detail in another episode. And if you'd like to share anything about it, feel free. But what I want to share with you is my number one song of 2024. Would you like to venture a guess?
There's so many possibilities. I have literally no idea.
The final countdown.
I'm pulling it up because I want to get you the artist and everything.
It's
did
your
you go?
number one song of the year and you don't know the artist?
You'll understand when I tell you what it is.
It's gonna be
It's
some
from-
soundtrack to
Yeah.
something.
Literally.
It's gonna be like the Walmart jingle.
It's going to be white noise to go to sleep to.
There actually were a couple tracks of like just noise because I'll listen to that when I'm reading and like writing and stuff, but that doesn't count. Was not in the top 5. This was my number one song, and I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get sued by people, but you guys aren't even going to know what this is. But I have to tell you that when I saw this pop up and play for me on my YouTube recap, I was so giddy, literally giddy. And I will not belabor the point anymore. It is called Dream Us, and it's sung by Park Yoon Bin, and it's a song from a K-drama. And I love this song so much. It's so happy and joyful. I will have to play it for you someday.
No, you don't.
It's so good.
I believe
It's
you.
so good.
Still don't
There
know.
are there are completely only 2 words in English in this song. Everything else is in Korean. And I have decided someday, I can't tell you when, I will learn how to sing this song word for word. And I will sing it for you guys someday.
How many
love
minutes
it.
did you have listened to it?
Oh, I only had 9,000 total minutes. And I know that that's sort of low because, I don't know, you guys probably had triple that. But I don't remember it saying like the exact one. Let me see. Let me see if I can find out.
I
Oh, a
listened.
total listen time for just this track, just for Dream Us, 57 minutes.
How long's the song?
It's like 3 minutes.
That's a lot. See, I listened to my top track was Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar. It's a
Not
6 minute
surprised.
song. I listened to it for 668 minutes.
That's a lot of time. You listen to that song almost as much. Well, no, I had 9,000. Okay, I take it back. So go ahead.
I listened to 91 hours of Kendrick Lamar.
91 hours just of Kendrick Lamar.
Just of Kendrick Lamar.
Wow, you are a super fan.
You
Well,
listen to how much of Kendrick Lamar?
91 hours of Kendrick Lamar.
That is insane. My
Not bad.
top
That's a lot.
artist, my top artist was also Kendrick Lamar. I listened to Euphoria 70 times. Mine doesn't break down like an actual. Oh, no, it does. 455 minutes of that song. And I only listened to 28 hours of Kendrick Lamar, and I thought that was a lot.
You gotta up your game, man.
Yeah, I definitely think I've eclipsed that in the last 3 days, but that will be for 2025's recap.
By the way, why are they dropping this at the end of November? Like I have a whole there's a whole
Because
month
he
left.
does what he wants.
No, I'm talking about YouTube music. Why are they giving us a 2024 recap when there's still a whole month left in the year?
Maybe the YouTube recapper is going on vacation and wanted to make sure he submitted his homework on time.
I like it. My top artist. So the Dream Us is from a K drama called Castaway Diva. Fantastic series. Castaway Diva was amazing, and that song is also amazing. But my top artist was Pink Floyd, which was really surprising to me. It says I listened to Pink Floyd for 5 hours this past year, and it beat out Foo Fighters, John Williams, Ozzy Osbourne, and the Beatles. I don't know about this. I may have to ask for YouTube to recount their minutes because I mean I'm fine with Pink Floyd being the number one artist. It's fine, but I just don't seem like I don't think I listened to that group as much as it thinks I did. But I guess the numbers don't lie. Yeah. So there's our recap. Anything else you wanted to share about on your recap?
I used to
Your
fear
YouTube.
you.
You used to fear me?
As much as a son should fear their father, yeah, I used to fear you in your firm hand.
And has that diminished for some reason?
For some reason, your number one song is a K drama song called what is it, like Butterflies in La La Land or something?
Dream Us. Thank you.
Oh yeah, my bad.
You can't knock it. You can't knock it because you haven't even listened to it. I guarantee you'd smile at least
Oh
once during the song.
oh, you don't want me to listen to it.
I probably don't. You're probably right. Um, but I have bigger news. I have very big news. Very, very big news. Starting on December 1st, all 5 Twilight movies will be available to stream on Hulu. I would like to couple this announcement with the second announcement that our New Year's binge marathon is going to be the Twilight movies. You guys are both invited. Bring your
It
friends.
definitely won't be sober.
I was just about to say, based off of your number one song of the year, I was going to buy a lot of tickets and invite you guys to a lot of events and get you guys outside as much as possible. But I don't think that's possible anymore now that you've broken that news.
With Twilight, with the Twilight movies,
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever leave the house again.
it's possible. You know, I'm sort of making fun of myself. And yes, I will be honest. I was a big Twilight movie fan. I even read all those books. Everybody has their guilty pleasures. Sue me. I don't care. Uh, but I'm honestly, over the years, they haven't really aged well, even for my sparkly vampire enjoying self. Whenever I see him on TV, I sort of roll my eyes. But anyway, There was a time where I just really enjoyed the whole thing. You guys were very young. You guys were never Twilight fans, and that's okay. That's okay. But I do want to ask you: were you guys Team Edward or Team Jacob? Like right now?
I'm Team Renesmee.
That's great.
I don't dislike it, but the only way I know the Twilight movies are through memes, and I think that's part of why it hasn't aged well because so much of it has become a meme.
Well, we're big fans of what do you call him? Robert Paddington Bear.
Yeah, Robert Paddington Bear. He's great. He's the Batman.
Yeah, he's the Batman, and he's also going to be in some other movie called Mickey 17 or something like that, where there's like a whole bunch of versions of the same character, sort of like a Groundhog Day situation. It seems really out there, and he's the main star in it. Um, so Luke is Team Renesmee, Caleb, Team Jacob, Team Edward, Team anything.
I am team read the books.
Have you read the books?
No.
So you don't want to watch the movies.
I've also
You
never
wouldn't encourage people.
I've never played for the Los Angeles Kings, but I begrudgingly still root for them.
Yeah, they're hard to root for right now. So are you going to be joining me for our Twilight marathon for New Year's then?
Unless I get a better offer.
Well, with the prospect of watching 5 Twilight movies over the course of 2 days, you might. The odds of you getting a better offer is pretty good. How about you, Caleb?
I live in the moment. I will tell you on New Year's Eve whether I will be joining you because I really don't know.
I respect it. I respect it. You will not commit. You don't want to overextend yourself. I understand. Well, let me know. Um, Also, by the way, this is not even true. I don't know if we're watching all those Twilight movies, but they are going to be available on Hulu for your viewing pleasure. But I have to tell you, I am so pumped about our episode today because we are going to be doing a superhuman episode. We've done a couple others of these. This is a show where we talk about ordinary people that do extraordinary things, and those things inspire us. And we want to just put a little bit of that love and positivity out into the world. I have no idea who you guys are going to talk about. You guys don't know who I'm going to talk about, but this is an opportunity. Go back in the show, listener. Go back in the show episode list there and find our other superhuman episodes if you haven't heard them before. If you're new to the show, we just spend this episode talking about exactly what I just said: ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and those people are people that we want to share with you. And I'll be honest, boys, if you can indulge me here for a second, this episode of Superhumans really was inspired by our incredible Harley Ray Duran. We got to hang out with her a couple weekends ago. For those of you who don't know who Harley is, she is our goddaughter / god sister for the boys, and she has Down syndrome. And when her mom and dad were expecting her, they were given the diagnosis that she was going to have Down syndrome, but she was also going to have, they need to be prepared because she was going to have hydrocephalus, which means that the back of her skull was not completely going to be formed, and she was going to have to go into immediate surgery after birth to help fix the back of her skull. This, coupled with the Down syndrome, they were not given a great prognosis. She was not supposed to have functionality of one side of her body. At best, she was going to have some very limited speech and mobility issues. And this is all before she was even born. So they were giving them very bad news. Well, she's now 9 years old. And if you only had the opportunity to meet her, you would see how incredible she is, what an inspiration she is, and how full of life she is. And she has wonderful vocabulary. She has full movement of all of her, every inch of her, every limb, every arm, every leg, all of her feet. Everything is fantastic. So all of the doom and gloom that we were getting ready for, thank God we did not have to actually, it didn't come to pass. So I just look at this wonderful little human being And literally, whenever we have the opportunity to hang out with her, I'm inspired. And this recent last time that we got to hang out with her just made me think, you know what? I think it's time to talk about some superhumans on the Colby cast. It's the week of Thanksgiving here in the US, so it's a great time to reflect on some things that are inspirational or that we're grateful for. So that's what we're hoping to bring to you over the next however long with our contributions to some positive conversation and sharing some places or some stories that you can go to also feel a little bit of that inspiration. So I've got my list. Like I said, this is inspired and dedicated to Harley Ray. One of these days, I'll shoot a picture up on the Instagrams so you can see how wonderful she is. She's fantastic. So look out for that. So yeah, that's just sort of I'm so pumped. I'm feeling so excited just to talk about some inspirational people, and I'm especially interested to hear what you guys have to say because really I never know who you guys are going to put on your list. So I'm excited about it. Anybody want to go first, or do you guys have anything you want to add to the superhuman uh, conversation in general? Or if you want to just start off the list, let's do it.
Yeah, I have one, and it was one of those things where when you told me this is what we were going to be talking about, I had just thought like, oh wow, I was just thinking and just talking about somebody, so it worked out perfectly. But when you said superhumans and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, it it reminded me of this guy that I was talking about. I didn't even know his name. His name is Roger Bannister. Either you know who he is? Didn't think so. He
That would be a negative from me.
he was the first person to run a sub 4 minute mile. He ran um, the mile in zero point 0.4 seconds or zero point 0.6 seconds under 4 minutes, which was the first time in history it had ever gone under 4 minutes. And it was a really big deal because the 4 minute mark was deemed impossible by scientists during the time. And he was a medical student, so he wasn't even a trained athlete or anything. He was just a running enthusiast, and he wanted to push himself. And he trained relentlessly and ended up while he was still in medical school, and he broke the record. It was a huge deal. And then 46 days later, another person broke the 4 minute mark, and then other people started to break it. And it was sort of one of those things where it was impossible until it wasn't. And then once everybody else realized that it was attainable, then everybody else started to do it for themselves. And I think it's such an interesting thing because if he hadn't have broken it, a lot of people probably wouldn't have even attempted it. And when your mind tells you that you can't do something, you probably won't be able to. But once you decide that you're going to try at least, then it at least gives you a chance, you know? So I think that is sort of the epitome of superhumans, where he's just a guy. You know, he didn't even run track or anything afterwards. He ended up becoming a neurologist and just ran for fun and for his own health. But I think that that's a pretty interesting one.
That's a great way to kick it off. I love it, and I love the. I'm inspired by like what you're talking about, like the mind over matter situation. First of all, before I get to that, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you know when this happened? Like what year or around? Because I don't.
I believe it was 1936, but I could be wrong. It was in the
Wow,
early 1900s.
wow. I lo- isn't it interesting how something was not possible until it was possible, and then you already referenced it, like all that needed to happen was one person to do it. And then it proves everybody wrong and it inspires other people to strive for that same goal. And I mean, you see it in athletics, but you can see it in any field. And that's incredible. And I mean, I'm not a runner, but I have spent time running in my life for various reasons. And running has to be one of the most mentally and physically taxing things. But I think if you're going to do percentage wise, I think it's more taxing mentally than physically. For you to push yourself physically and mentally that hard for just under 4 minutes, that's incredible. And that's probably why it never happened, because people didn't want to. They didn't think they could push themselves that hard. But this guy proved them wrong. So wow, very cool way to start it off. I like that very much.
My first one is a little different, but I liked your "it's not achievable until it is." People aren't ordinary until, like, they're not. You know, everybody's just a person until they're not. Like, there's a reason why Rihanna is so well known, and like all these people who have one name. Like, I feel like that's a good little like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a statute. You reach that, and then you're just like an icon. But ultimately, they were just people to begin with before they became these idols. And I don't think this person is quite as famous or reached the heights that certain other famous people did. But the first winner of American Idol, Kelly Clarkson, is my first person. And that's because um, I didn't know she had a show, but I just knew she was doing all these covers of songs of like famous people and like insanely talented artists, and arguably like doing them better than the original artist. And I don't like covers in general, but when you hear just the like unfiltered and just absolute natural talent that someone has just by like opening their mouths, it's insane. And like there are a lot of these like stories that come around of like how Ellen was a certain kind of way on her talk show and that's why she doesn't have it anymore, and just like the way Hollywood operates, and it's very manipulative, and everybody wants that soundbite. Everybody wants that like gotcha moment so that they can get clicks now or views then or listens or whatever. And from going through a little bit of a rabbit hole a little bit ago now, Kelly Clarkson just seems like someone who just like loves learning and just loves her craft and just has different guests, all different kinds of guests, whether they're singers or not, on her show, and just highlights them and just praises them and wants to get to know them. And it might not be the most famous thing because it doesn't have those gotcha moments, but it's really fun. And I'm gonna get mom on it because she loves singing. She loves singers, and part of me remembers like mom just belting Kelly Clarkson in the car because mom has a powerful voice when she wants to let it loose. Um, but mom's always looking for that like easy watch. So I'm gonna give her her flowers, and I think that's a good thing to want to spread, and it's gonna give me compounding superhumans because she has her own version on her show where she highlights certain things that whether they were like trending or whatever, and she highlights people who are doing unsung things too.
I love that. That's like exactly this is a man. This is the kind of stuff that I love when we talk about these things. I mean, I'm very familiar with Kelly Clarkson. She's super popular with her music, and having her beginnings with American Idol. I remember watching, not on an episode by episode basis, but like getting close to the end of that first season of American Idol. And gosh, I wouldn't even be able to tell you what year it was. It's been a long time now, but I remember it was the first, sort of the first of its kind, and thinking,
2002.
"Oh, thank you. Oh, dang. So 22 years ago, first season of American Idol." And I remember sort of approaching it as like this sort of like a hater, like, "Oh, this isn't gonna work. This is all just fake. This isn't gonna last. This is gonna be a one and done." And not only was I super wrong, but not only is it still around, and you can debate whether or not it's still relevant, but it spawned like all these other talent and singing shows and dancing shows, and I think really that show is probably the beginning of all of that kind of stuff. Um, and Kelly Clarkson was the first winner, and she went on to have an incredible career. Not all of them do, right? Not all the American Idol winners go on to be a successful recording artist, but Caleb, you're right. Not only has she produced excellent music consistently over the last 20 plus years, but she's also done other things, and she's doing this talk show. And I get the same vibe from her. Like, I don't know her, but she does seem like she's going to not just do and say things for the to keep herself in the public eye, but she's going to contribute the way she wants to contribute to the larger conversation. Which, in my honestly, in like in our own little way, that's what I hope we do, is contribute in a fun way to the larger conversation. So that's a great great call. We're off to a smashing start. So I'm gonna go next, and I'm going to talk about my first one, and he is, I don't know exactly how old, but I'm gonna guess maybe about 3 or 4 years old. His name is Hudson, and he is the subject of an incredible Instagram account which is called Our Huddy Buddy. And I defy you to go onto this account and not smile, because he is just the most adorable, energetic, full of life little boy. And he has Down syndrome. And his mom is the one that runs it. And she is very, very open with sharing their life and sharing her experience and her husband's experience. That also, when they were expecting, they had 4 children, and then they were expecting their fifth, and that fifth one ended up being Hudson. And they were also told that he was going to have Down syndrome. So all the fear and all the worry and all the stuff that comes with a diagnosis like that, she's very open about talking about. And they've been on some talk shows. I haven't really seen all that, but I just absolutely adore this Instagram account. And the reason that I do is for a lot of the reasons what I brought up with Harley. You get an opportunity to see what the life of a child and a family that has Down syndrome, and how this is not the difficult, almost like, some people would look at it almost like a death sentence, and how their life is going to be ruined. And she highlights some of that stuff. It's like, we were told this and we were told that, but all that Hudson has been is an incredible blessing, and and he brings joy and life to their life. And one of the things that he does a lot, well, he does it every day, but she posts it quite frequently. They go through and do these daily affirmations where he's learning to speak positively about himself. And he says, I am smart, I am brave, I am courageous. But he's also they're teaching him to speak it, but also sign it in American Sign Language. And it is absolutely the most adorable, life affirming video that, if you were to want to wake up and have a smile on your face, pull up that or bookmark a post like that and see him doing his daily affirmations. And they have products where you can go on to, I believe it's their website, and you can purchase like the daily affirmation board that they use. But I just think that that account, again, on Instagram, Our Huddy Buddy, is just incredible for a smile. And sometimes we just need to see something that's going to make us smile. And I can't watch one of his posts or see one of his posts and not just feel joy and have a smile on my face. And that goes a long way. So that's my contribution. Instagram account, Our Huddy Buddy. Go check them out. I'm also going to try to post anybody that I reference here on my list. I'm gonna try to post on some of the ColbyCast social medias, so that you can also check it out and connect if interested in doing that. But yeah, he's just incredibly adorable. He has a wonderful smile, and he's defying the odds too, just by being himself. So he's a great inspiration to me whenever I get to see his posts. So that's my first superhuman for the episode.
That's great. My next is completely different, and I don't know how to find a segue to that. So I'm just gonna say who mine is. Mine is the all-time leader in passing yards in NFL history, the first all-time in passing completions, the first all-time in passing touchdowns, the most winning player in Super Bowl history, and the player with the most Super Bowl MVPs, and that is the GOAT, Tom Brady. I did not know that Tom Brady was not always going to be Tom Brady. Because when you think of like the goats of sports and stuff like that, you don't really think of, or you think of like these naturally gifted athletes who are sort of bound to do that eventually, and if not be the greatest of all time, be at least great, you know? Like Tiger Woods went on a talk show when he was 2 years old and was demonstrating his golf swing. Wayne Gretzky was 16 years old, putting up 100 points against grown men. Mike Tyson was a world champion at 18, stuff like that. You know, LeBron James was projected to be one of the greatest of all time straight out of high school. But Tom Brady, not only was he drafted in the 6th round, and I think he was the 8th quarterback taken in that draft, but he was the backup quarterback for his first 2 years in high school, and his team went 0-8 both of those years. So he was the backup quarterback on the worst team in the state. And in an interview, he was doing a talk about it, and he mentioned like, how bad do you have to be the backup quarterback on the worst team? That's bad, right? Um,
Yeah.
but he just worked his way up, and he worked his way up. He talks about how his discipline and his work ethic was the only real skill that he had. His scouting report going into the NFL draft was lanky, unathletic, slow, poor decision making, doesn't have a great arm. Basically said, do not draft this guy. But he was a fierce competitor, and he relied more on his work ethic and his discipline than his skills, and that's what ended up getting him so far. He told a story about when he was in his junior year of college. He had redshirted his first year, so he didn't play at all, so he could have an extra year of eligibility. And then he goes on to be the backup, and then he's the backup again. And then he expects to get the starting job. And then they recruited another quarterback, even though he had worked his way up the depth chart to be the number one quarterback. They recruited a quarterback, so he ended up having to split time with the guy. So then his senior year was a similar situation where he was told, okay, you'll start the first quarter, the other guy will start the second quarter, and then at halftime, I'll tell you who's going to play the rest of the game. And he said that that was the best thing that could have happened to him because he was so competitive that he just immediately ran with that and said, if you're going to make me compete with this guy doesn't stand a chance. So he just outworked him, was named the captain of his team, and then went on to make the NFL barely. And then once he got to the NFL, it was the same thing as it was in high school, same thing it was in college, where he just had to keep grinding and keep working. And despite all of his flaws in his skill, you know, he ran a 5'2", 40-yard dash, which is not very good, and all those other things. It just worked out where he ended up being in a situation where he was the backup quarterback and starter got injured, and once he got his opportunity, he ran with it. And I love stories like that because he really wasn't given anything. He just had to earn it. And I know nothing about him as a person, but I know as an athlete and as a competitor that when you have somebody who's had to work for what he has, he's going to work hard to keep it. And other people who have just been given it, it doesn't mean as much to them. So when they lose it, it doesn't matter as much. But when you have
Yeah.
a guy like that who, you know, you're in a train camp or boot camp or whatever, and you're trying to outwork this guy and steal his job, you have a couple months to do it. But when this person has been working their entire lives with this kind of attitude and this kind of work ethic, you don't stand a chance. And I love stories like that in sports.
Yeah, so do I, and that's one of the reasons why I love like the Rocky movies, because you know you have somebody that comes from nothing and they're desperate for any success, like to find their next meal or be able to pay their rent or something, and the motivation that comes with that is so unequivocally different than somebody who's maybe had. I'm not a believer of like God given natural talent. Like I think you have to work hard and the people that make it look easy, it's not been easy for them, but sometimes somebody has an easier road than somebody who's desperate and hasn't caught the breaks or whatever. So those stories are always very compelling. And I didn't know that about Tom Brady. Like, so I'm not a huge football fan, and I know, of course, who Tom Brady is. I'm sure when you said his name, there was like half the people probably cheered and the other people probably groaned because he's just a very he's sort of a polarizing uh, personality now. But the fact that he didn't just show up and was like the next one right off the bat, I was not aware that he had to go through those struggles, and just to see what he accomplished after all that, that's it's very remarkable because I mean his accomplishments in his craft are unparalleled. Really, he's in a very rare company with athletes from across their sports. So yeah, great call, great call. There's something to be said for greatness, and he's definitely one of the people that you could point to uh, as being great at what they do. Caleb,
Yeah, speaking of great. um
oh, I can't wait.
oh, you no, you just referred to me. That was it.
Oh, bravo,
Yes.
bravo.
Yes, that did not fall on its face at all. My person is also an athlete, and this one hits very close to home for me because I am a goalie. I always have been, always will be. But I am a goalie coach, and this person is in the NHL. He is the only person to have ever like scored a shutout, gotten a shutout in a winter classic, which are the outdoor NHL games, which are always a lot of fun. He uh his dad is currently the goalie coach for BU, Boston University, the Terriers, and um his name is Joey Decord, the superhuman I'm going to talk about, and he's just a giant dork. His team won in overtime. He plays for the Seattle Kraken. It went in overtime, and he skated all the way across the ice to celebrate with his team. When he jumped up, he literally like bounced off of the person that he hit in the huddle and fell like parallel to the ice, 5 feet off the ice, and just lay there for a second. And it just went uber viral in the hockey world. And it was like on every single like Instagram post that I saw for 3 days. But it also hit Twitter, and he quote tweeted it, said, "Oh, sorry, got the zoomies," talking about how like when dogs get really excited, they just take off running, right? He said he got the zoomies, and that's what happened. And it's just like, to me, it's very refreshing. And I will be the first to admit that I was dogging this guy a lot year before last because, or maybe it was last year. I can't remember anymore. It was very recently though, because he just wasn't where he should have been. But the team was struggling and had injuries for goalies and stuff. But his resilience has really paid off, and there was no doubt that he was going to be good. Just because of his work ethic, his just natural talent, and his just constant honing of his craft, like you were talking about, Luke. Um, but his dad, he is all over the place. Like I don't know how many amateur slash like college coaches that aren't a part of like the major sports are like as famous as this guy is. And maybe he's famous because like I've heard of him and he's a part of the circles that I like try and follow. But for celebrities, big, small, A-list, not, access is not very easy, and people all just want their second with this famous person, whether it's an autograph, whatever it is. So a lot of people will get their claim to fame and just become very, like, protected, sheltered, just like keep
Yeah,
everybody at a distance, no matter how nice or mean you can be to a person. And
insulated.
exactly. And Joey Decor just seems like a guy who just understands what it is to be a fan, what it is to be like looking up to your idols, and with how small the hockey community is, I admire Joey Decord for how accessible he makes himself. He's done podcasts with all sorts of different hockey people, but there's like hockey and goalie resources that are directly competitors to his dad's brand, and he'll make himself accessible to them because he just wants to see the game grow. He just wants to see the sport and like non-fans become diehard fans, and diehard fans just get that extra like influence and that extra just insight to what it is to be a professional athlete and the actual energy and time and effort that it takes. Um, and that goes adjacent with his dad having like available resources to anybody who wants it, whether it's free or not. I mean, if it's your craft, you want to make sure like you're making money, so he charges for certain things. But with the barrier to entry being so expensive, having people like them giving their resources freely or not, just giving their time, which is the most valuable thing, I think is incredible. And just being a kind person, making millions of dollars and separating yourself from the grind, if you will, not necessarily the most blue collar thing you can do, I think is very admirable.
That's fantastic. And this your story about Joey Decord made me think of this phrase that the victory is in the struggle,
Yeah.
right? Like, you,
On that same note, he went to Arizona State University. Their first year, they were going to have D1 hockey, which, like, there aren't D1 clubs, like, anywhere West Coast,
yeah,
not West
yeah,
Coast. It's just all East Coast and Canada. And he could
or
have had,
Midwest, yeah,
exactly. Um, he could have had offers to giant name schools, but he wanted to go and like make his own legacy and make his own name and have this like pride in being the first person to do it and be the first goalie to not only play for a first year D1 hockey team, but also make the NHL from a team from Arizona. And I think that's
yeah,
really awesome.
yeah. And it makes me just wonder, like the fact that he's been able to hold on to the s- when you become successful, even though the victory is in the struggle, when you become successful and you reach the peak, right? Like that he's in the NHL now, it's easy to lose perspective. I think a lot of people do lose perspective, but it seems like he has kept his perspective. And I think that that kind of thing comes from when you're struggling, when you have to struggle and not just come across your success very, very quickly. So I love that. I love the fact that he's this professional hockey player, but he's still making time to do podcasts and remember to help kids that are starting out in hockey and whatnot. That's amazing. I love that. It's amazing. Um, my next one also I think is amazing, and he is the So I originally wrote down Michael's Cafe and Bakery. Really, that's the Instagram account that you can find where I found this person. But the superhuman behind Michael's Cafe and Bakery is Ed Lynch. 20 years ago, he lost his daughter. Her name was Michael, and it's spelled Mychal. I don't know what her disability was, but she lost her life. And Ed, the dad, in her memory, decided to make a place called Michael's Learning Place, which is a foundation, a nonprofit organization that helps teach skills to people with disabilities, developmental disabilities, and they help teach skills to help people with these disabilities live independently. So it's not just about learning a new skill, but it's a skill to help them live their life and be independent, which for someone who struggles to be independent, what better gift can you give the person than being able to be independent, right? So out of this, Michael's Learning Place grew a cafe and bakery. It's in Redondo Beach. Again, it's Michael's Cafe and Bakery, and they provide employment opportunities for people with developmental disabilities. So the report that I saw um, said specifically that the people that are involved in the Michael's Learning Place where they're learning these skills then are given the opportunity to go work in this cafe and bakery. And it looks amazing. There's a dining room. They have a full menu, bakery items, food items, drinks, and everyone, well, I don't know if it's everyone, but people with developmental disabilities are given the opportunity to work here, and they're doing things that are, they're not just given a simple task. I'm talking about the fact that they're making food. They are preparing food. They're in the nuts and bolts of this cafe and bakery. And they also have this Instagram account where they will show and interview employees and ask them their opinions on, what is your favorite, what is the best bread for a breakfast sandwich? And then whoever it is that they're talking to is like, oh, well, let's make one. And then they'll go through and show them making this breakfast sandwich, or doing whatever it is that they're doing on that day that their job is. And I think that something like this, the fact that this exists is so incredibly important, because you guys, the two of you, are now in your 20s. You're making money, your own money. You're earning a paycheck. uh, and that's a rewarding feeling, right? That's a great feeling when it's not something that mom and I have given you, like, oh, here's a this, a here's a that, go, put it in your bank account or save. You're earning your money, and when you're able to do that, it gives you a sense of purpose, and it gives you a feeling of independence. And everyone should have the opportunity, when possible, to be able to do that. And I believe the statistic that they showed during this report was like 85% of people with developmental disabilities are unemployed. There's a lot of reasons for that, I'm sure. But this man, Ed Lynch, in the memory of his daughter, has decided to make a difference where he's able to make that difference. So he's teaching skills to people that may not have another opportunity to learn those skills, and then giving them the opportunity to use those skills, earn a paycheck, and live independently. And I can't applaud him enough, because again, this is just an ordinary person that saw something that he could help and contribute, and he decided to take action on that. He rose up and decided, you know what, I'm going to make a difference. And I'm inspired by people that do that, that sort of get out of their comfort zone and go and make a difference in people's lives. So I have every intention on making a trip down to Redondo and having breakfast or lunch or whatever at this cafe and bakery. Again, it's on Instagram, so if you just look at Michael's Cafe, Mychals, it'll pop up, and their stuff is also very much smile inducing and very inspirational. So
That is incredible.
That's great. I remember we were in Vacaville, which is where, if you don't know where Vacaville is, good. No one else does either.
Yeah, lucky
Um,
you.
it's about 45 minutes west of Sacramento. No, probably like an hour west of Sacramento. Um, but I remember we were there for a hockey tournament or something, and there was a movie theater close by, and I forgot what movie I went to go watch. But I remember that every person there working was special needs, and everything
that's
went so
incredible.
smooth. I bought the ticket, I bought snacks and concessions, and I showed the person my ticket, and everything went so smooth, and it was awesome. And when I went to go get a refill on my drink, um, there was the manager was there, and I asked the manager about it, and they said that they worked with schools nearby, and they were able to help them get jobs there, and it was they could either work part time and just have it on their resume as something that they can do in the meantime while they figure out what else they want to do, or they have full time employees there, and that's like you said, the independence that you're able to have there, it makes such a difference. Um, for my last superhuman, I'm going to go in a direction that I don't think you guys are going to go, but you're not going to be surprised when I say this. And it is who I believe to be the greatest rapper of all
I
time,
knew it before you even started your preamble. I knew it. I in
Kendrick
I have I
Duckworth
avoided it for you.
Lamar. Kendrick Duckworth Lamar.
The person that you've spent 600 hours listening to over the past year or whatever that was.
So he dropped his most recent project, DNX, on Friday morning. I have not played a single other song. This is Monday evening. I have not played a single other song that isn't on DNX. Everything I'm listening to is nothing but that, and I
Can
love it.
hold on. Can you spell the album?
DNX?
Isn't it GNX?
Is it? Oh, is it? Yeah, it's GNX, isn't it? Oh well.
You're good. The only reason
GD. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's a
GNX.
very
Yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
so similar.
the only reason I know that is because it's about the car and it's a Grand National, and I was like, wait, is he saying D or G?
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a car until in one of his songs he goes, "All I ever wanted was my own Grand National." But anyways, Kendrick Duckworth Lamar. He has had a heck of a year. The year 2024 has been very, very good for him. He has
That's one way of putting it. He has
he
had
has
a
sent
heck of a
himself
year.
into a certain stratosphere that few others ever find themselves in. And in my opinion, he has solidified himself as the greatest rapper of all time. And it's interesting because when you think of the modern era of rap, it's changed a lot. The streaming has changed basically everything in the entertainment industry, but especially in music, record labels are pretty much non-existent at this point. It's just large corporations bought all the record labels out. But Kendrick Lamar is still loyal to the same people who signed him to a record deal when he was 16 years old, made his first project. He has 17 Grammys, 8 BET Awards. He has a Pulitzer Prize or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, Pulitzer Prize. Yeah, that's
Pulitzer
sort of a big
Prize.
deal.
that is
Yeah.
a not kind of a big deal. That is a huge deal. That is almost, I would argue, bigger than a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah,
It's arguable. Why not?
it's for like literature and stuff like that. And he got it for one of his albums. He's one of the most influential artists of our generation. And the stuff that he talks about, I think, is what makes him so interesting. Because when you think of rap in today's world, you don't really think of storytelling. You don't really think of, love songs and stuff like that. That's sort of specific to other genres. Rap and hip hop has sort of become just about the same stuff over and over. And of course, you have a few people who stick out in a different way, but Kendrick Lamar's music, this is his first album that is just music. He still has some songs that are storytelling and stuff, but his other albums like Damn or To Pimp a Butterfly or Good Kid, Mad City, they're all him telling a story and him having a message that he is conveying the message through music rather than trying to tell you this is right and this is wrong. He speaks on a lot of topics like injustice and racism and abuse and mental health and stuff like that. And you don't really think of that when you think of hip hop. But when you listen to Kendrick Lamar, it's very evident. His last album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, he's talking about how he's overcoming his childhood trauma and he's working his way through his emotions. He's seeing a therapist. It's very raw and very vulnerable, and the fact that you can be in a genre like hip hop where it's really cutthroat and all about who has the most money and who's the coolest and the biggest and the strongest and whatever. The fact that he was able to go tell a story like that and not only make it good, but good for the masses. It's incredible, and I don't think that there's another person who can say that they've had that sort of impact on that broad of a scope. Of course, you have your Eminems and your Tupacs and your Biggies, but theirs have sort of been isolated to pretty straightforward storytelling. Whereas Kendrick Lamar covers so many different topics and he's overcome so much in his life, and he's so open about it. And I think part of the reason why he's so well respected is because what can you say to a person who puts his entire life out there and says, "This is who I am and I'm not going to be anybody else"?
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective on him, not only as an artist but as a person. I'm not going to talk like I am an expert. Although I do know that his one of his nicknames is K Dot, also Kung Fu Kenny, but I learned that because of you guys.
K Dot was his
But
original stage name.
so what I do know, what it seems like to me is that he has been very consistent from beginning till present with not compromising what he's doing as an artist, right? You may see people start out one way and then they get wrapped up in the corporate machine and they're made to do this and that, the other thing, to stay popular and keep selling. Well, now it's streams, but albums, if you know what I mean. But I feel like he has stayed culturally relevant and consistent with his message. And hip hop, maybe more than any other genre of music, and of course you can debate this, but maybe more rooted in culture than any other genre of music. Like it literally has its roots in like gentrification and socially economic struggle. uh and I feel like he has contributed to that culture, but when it gets to a certain level where you're mainstream, you start to see the change in the tone or the message. But I feel like he's hit the mainstream and he hasn't made that change. So that says a lot about him as an artist and as a person. So um and there's a lot of pressure. I'm sure there's a ton of pressure from a lot of places to keep making money for other people. But he's staying true to, it seems like he's staying true to who he is. So yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah,
I sign off on the Kung Fu Kenny on the superhuman list.
yeah. To add to that a little bit, I think one of the biggest things about him is that he um he uses his own money for everything he does. He owns PG Lang, or he's part owner of PG Lang, which is the company that he uses to promote his stuff and produce his um, basically all the visuals and everything. And I don't know exactly the all the details about what and who PG Lang is, but he's also part of Top Dog Entertainment, which is when you talk about how big some of these record labels are, like Rockefeller and stuff like that, it's tiny compared to them, but he still puts up gigantic numbers. And I think it's because people appreciate the authenticity that he has. And when you have people in place who you trust, and he's making music with kids he grew up with and stuff like that, I don't think it can be understated how important that is. This album is going to make him hundreds of millions of dollars because he's going to go on tour and everything with GNX. But the crazy part is he has virtually unknown rappers on this album with him, and he's going to put money in their pockets too, just by being part of the ride. And he didn't have to do that, but he chose to do that.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
I liked the word you used, Dad, and I'm just gonna say it louder so I get the credit for it. Unwavering is a good way to describe him because, like you said, he's stayed true to his upbringing. He stayed true to his principles. He stayed true to his version of everything. And it's not like your way's wrong, my way's right until it needs to be. Because I don't know, he's gonna be very polarizing nowadays just because of the popularity and the heights a lot of these songs are reaching. And he's not one that I would be like, oh my God, don't meet your heroes, because I feel like he's the same regardless of who he's around. I have a great appreciation for him, and I'm glad that you brought him up, Luke.
Which brings us to your next selection.
Mine is drastically different, like could not be more different than Kendrick Lamar, but it is a social media account run by Matt Nelson, called We Rate Dogs, and I think it is the best thing ever. And it's ebbed and it's flowed and it's progressed, not necessarily changed. Um, but as it's been around for literally as long as I can remember, and it started out as sort of like a meme page where it was just like a dog in a hat or like a dog eating a cake or a dog holding like a literal like 6 foot long tree like it's a stick just because he doesn't want to leave it at the park. Like it started like that and it got like really, really viral. So he would start to rate dogs and like dogs are the best things ever. There's almost nothing better than dogs. Um, and so because of that, he's not going to rate a dog like a 5 out of 10, you know? Like if you're a dog,
Yeah.
you're automatically winning at life. But there would be certain like ones that he would quote unquote rate where they've gone like the dog's gone and stolen like all of its owner's left like sandals and torn them to shreds and nobody knows why it's the left one but he only has right pairs of shoes and like because of that it would be like you're a cute dog, you're a great dog, 11 out of 10, like that would be the rating of this dog. And since then, it's instead of being rating a dog, now it's like ranking dogs. And he always does like top five these days. And it's like some of them are funny ones, other them are like this dog protected a 2 year old or a 3 year old playing outside. Not a 2 year old. I feel like a 2 year old's too young to play outside, but an infant to young child playing outside and a coyote is just sort of lurking in the background and the dog will not leave the person's side just to protect it, that sort of thing. Like a lot of it's really cool, some of it's quirky, a lot of it's something about it just scratches an itch in my brain outside of the fact that it's dogs. But now with how massive it is, the Instagram has over like 4,000 posts. Every platform he has for this We Rate Dogs account all has multiple millions of followers. And like for TikTok, you can see how many likes they've accrued. And I think it's like it has to be in like the double, triple digit millions. So like 20 million, 300 million. I can't remember exactly. I'll have to double check. But now that he has this massive platform and once you reach a certain like follow count, like count, you start to monetize. I I don't know the exact number, but he donates a giant amount of those proceeds to non-kill shelters to give them resources and like to shelters and to certain foundations that help like find stray dogs or rescue dogs from breeders or like dog fights and just all this crazy stuff and all the while bringing smiles to just some like bystander's face. Meantime, like he has merch and this all started because like he had his dog and was posting like different poses the dog would make and he would rate the dog's poses and like take it all sorts of different places. And he's opened his own foundation in honor of his late dog to continue to raise funds and support other dog lovers and other people who are going through a lot. Like if you go into his Instagram, I say his Instagram, he probably has his own personal one, but if you go to the We Rate Dogs Instagram, one of the first posts is, like, a headline of a, now in remission cancer patient who put his dog up for adoption because he didn't think it was fair to the dog to not be able to support it and let it be active and give it everything the dog needed and deserved, and as soon as he went back into remission, he searched high and wide to be able to go and adopt her back. And like that's just uplifting for so many reasons. And that's just to me like the epitome of what positivity and beauty that this person, Matt Nelson, is trying to omit and just like It's amazing, and I think everybody who hasn't seen it, I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure anybody's seen it because of how big and how long it's been around. But if you haven't, go check it out because it will
I
absolutely bring a smile to your face.
I remember coming across We Rate Dogs on Twitter years and years and years ago and just loving it from the beginning, got an immediate follow. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Somebody that just started out with posting like memes of dogs or, funny videos or pictures of dogs or whatever, but he's turned it into something that will make a difference
Yeah,
because every single dog that is affected positively, there's a human or two or more that is also affected positively. So his ability um, to help in those regards is amazing. So good call.
and it's a little stupid of me, but I think one of my favorite things about him posting is it's never like, oh my god, this dog looks so cute because it's wearing a vest or it's in this costume or in these shoes. It's never like it's never at the expense of the dog being uncomfortable or like
Right.
in
It's a dog
pain.
being a dog.
Exactly. It's always just highlighting this personality of a dog, which I think is incredible to have this beast and this wild animal that we call a pet now.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's always room on a superhuman list for dogs. And I did not know that a person named Matt Nelson was the one running that. So good on Matt. And good on you for bringing him up. My last one here for our superhuman episode is somebody that I actually just came across today, just by chance. His name is Drew Davis, and he is the owner and creator and founder of Crippling Hot Sauce, which I thought was perfect for you guys because you like your hot sauces and your spicy things.
Get that for
Drew
Luke for
Davis,
Christmas, not for me.
seriously, I might. When Drew Davis, who is the owner of Crippling Hot Sauce, when he was 17 years old, he was doing like a project for a business or an economics class where they had to do like mock businesses. And his idea for his business got a B minus, and he was not happy with that.
Wow.
So he went to the teacher and asked what that grade was for. Why did I get a B minus? And the teacher told him that he just didn't think it was a realistic business idea. Well, he proved him wrong, and I think he would like to get a better grade now because he turned that business model into Crippling Hot Sauce. So Drew is a rock star. Like what I've seen limited on his Instagram account is legit. He's hilarious. He has this great energy about him. He has cerebral palsy, and he said that he spent a long time trying to figure out what to call his name, the name his business, I should say, and he settled on Crippling Hot Sauce because he wanted to highlight the fact that just because he's suffering from a disability doesn't mean that he can't achieve the goals that other people can as well. So to date, I think it's pretty recent numbers. He has sold 35,000 bottles of hot sauce. He has uh, partnerships with 175 retailers. He has a great Instagram and a website, and his content on online just cracks me up. And I'm going to be buying some of his hot sauce. Maybe you guys, maybe as a gift to you guys because you like your hot sauce so much. But I was just absolutely inspired by this young person because again, he didn't let his limitations define him, and he was even challenged by somebody who had a short-sighted idea of what he could do, and he proved them wrong. So good on you, Drew Davis. Check it out, Crippling Hot Sauce on Instagram and the website. And I just love it. I love these stories of people that just see something, have an idea, and act on that idea. I think it takes courage, fearlessness, boldness, and confidence. And I just eat all that stuff up. It's inspiring to me. I hope it's inspiring to all of you guys and to you too as well, Caleb and Luke. Just talking about these people that came from at some point. Everybody comes from nowhere, right? No matter if you arrive and you become a Tom Brady or a Kelly Clarkson or something like that. you started from somewhere and you had something that you feel you can share with others, and you go and you do that, and that's quite inspirational to me. And I hope that if you are out there right now listening to us talk and you have something to share with others, that you would contribute that to the larger greater good, because we will all benefit from it, no matter who you are, no matter what you have to say. If it's something positive to give to people, give it. I encourage you to do so. So yeah, there's our list. That's our Superhumans episode. Again, we love to do this just to give an opportunity to speak about some positive and inspirational stuff. Caleb, Luke, any final thoughts before we close out our episode?
Nope.
Brains are empty.
Oh, you mentioned your first place. There's also another place. I think you're the one who introduced it to me. Biddy and Bo's coffee shop. Another
Yeah,
similar
they were
situation.
on the first Superhumans episode that we did. Yeah.
You're right about that. I'll shut up forever.
No, please keep talking about Biddy and Bo's. Same idea, that they provide opportunities for people with developmental disabilities to find work. I think they're located on the eastern part of the country. But yeah, shout out to Biddy and Bo's. I would also love to drink some of their coffee. Excellent. Well, I'm going to close this out with some lyrics from an absolutely inspirational song that I listened to today by chance. It was also on my YouTube Music's recap playlist that it made for me. I love this song. I think it's a great reminder. So I'm just going to close it out by sharing these lyrics with everybody. And I'll rise up. I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. We hope everybody has a great holiday and a safe Thanksgiving, and we thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. You can find the Colbycast on Instagram, Threads, and X at the Colbycast. Episodes can also be found on YouTube, so like and subscribe. If you feel so inclined, rate and review our show on your podcatcher of choice. That really helps the show beat the algorithm and helps us find new friends to add to the conversation. If you're wordy, like me, you can send an email to thecolbycast@gmail.com. All music is licensed through Adobe Stock and performed by Pro Music 24. This podcast is not endorsed by anyone or anything for that matter. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Colbycast unless otherwise indicated.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.